I thought I had the perfect marriage for 5 years with Jennifer. Then came the strange texts, late nights, and makeup changes. Nothing prepared me for the day I found her gone along with our $80,000 in savings. All she left was a note saying, "I need to live a real life. Do not try to find me." Before I tell you how karma demolished the life of the woman who once vowed to love me forever, let me know where you are watching from, and hit subscribe to support my channel. I first met Jennifer at a company party in Chicago. Her smile caught my attention immediately, but it was her intelligence, during our first conversation, that truly captivated me. She worked in marketing, had this way of analyzing advertisements that made me see them differently. That night I found myself lingering near her, making excuses to continue our conversation until the party ended. Our dating phase was straight out of a romance novel. Weekend trips to nearby states, surprising each other with little gifts, and those long conversations that stretched into early morning hours. Our most memorable trip was to Grand Canyon, where we watched the sunrise together. Standing there with the vast canyon painted in shades of orange and gold, Jennifer squeezed my hand and whispered that she had never felt so connected to anyone before. 6 months later, I proposed at the same restaurant where we had our first date. She cried, nodded yes, before I even finished asking. We married in the backyard of my family home, a simple ceremony with only our closest friends and family. My father officiated, his voice cracking with emotion as he pronounced us husband and wife. Jennifer wore a simple white dress she found at a vintage store, saying it felt more authentic than an expensive gown. We bought our first house in the suburbs, spent weekends painting walls and assembling furniture. I remember our first dinner there, sitting on moving boxes, because our dining table had not arrived yet, eating Chinese takeout, and planning where each picture would hang. Those simple moments felt perfect. My job at a technology company provided stability. I worked as a software developer, not glamorous, but fulfilling. Jennifer continued climbing the corporate ladder in marketing, eventually becoming a marketing manager for a mid-sized company. We had plans. So many plans. Having children within 2 years, moving to a bigger house as our family grew, visiting Europe together once the kids were older. Looking back, the first signs appeared around our 3rd anniversary. Jennifer changed her phone password. She had always used my birthday, saying it was easier to remember. One night, I reached for her phone to check the time, and she snatched it away. Battery dying, she explained, but the screen showed 70%. She began buying expensive clothes, designer brands she had previously criticized as overpriced. Her makeup routine changed to more elaborate for work than she had ever done before. When I complimented her new look, she shrugged it off, saying her company expected a certain image from management. Late nights became frequent. Emergency meetings kept her at the office until 9 or 10. Sometimes I called her office line just to check, but it always went to voicemail. When questioned, Jennifer provided elaborate explanations about client emergencies that I could never verify. Our intimate life cooled. She claimed exhaustion from work stress turned away when I tried to kiss her good morning. Our deep conversations about life, politics, and our future together turned into surface-level exchanges about grocery lists and bill payments. I suggested marriage counseling. "Too busy right now," she said. "Maybe in a few months when this project ends." The project never seemed to end. The final warning sign came when she forgot our wedding anniversary. Jennifer had always been the one to plan elaborate celebrations, even for minor milestones. That year, I made dinner reservations, bought flowers, and she looked genuinely surprised when I mentioned it was our anniversary. She apologized profusely, blamed work pressure, promised to make it up to me. She never did. One evening, Jennifer asked me to fix an issue with her laptop. While troubleshooting, a message notification appeared on screen. The preview showed enough. "Miss you already. Cannot wait. For Barcelona." It came from someone named Carlos. I clicked on the message, read the entire exchange. Carlos described himself as a successful real estate developer in Barcelona. His profile picture showed a handsome man with perfect teeth, designer clothes, and a yacht in the background. His messages oozed charm, promising Jennifer adventures and passion she deserved but never received. I confronted Jennifer that night, showed her the messages. She dismissed them immediately. Just a potential client interested in American marketing strategies, she explained. The miss you part was just Spanish politeness, translated poorly. I wanted to believe her, needed to believe her. So I did, despite the knot forming in my stomach. For weeks afterward, I tried harder. Brought home flowers, randomly suggested weekend getaways, even started learning Spanish in secret, thinking I could surprise her with a trip to Spain for our next anniversary. I was trying to save something already lost. It happened on a Friday. Jennifer's birthday was that weekend, so I left work early to prepare a special dinner. I had bought her favorite wine ingredients for the pasta dish I made on our first date, even a small jewelry box containing sapphire earrings that matched her eyes. When I opened our front door, the house felt different. Too quiet, too still. Calling her name received no answer. Upstairs, our bedroom closet gaped open, half of her clothes missing. Her suitcase, the large red one we bought for our honeymoon, gone. Her jewelry box lay open, emptied of everything except the pieces she rarely wore. I rushed to our home office, checked the lockbox where we kept our passports. Both gone, hers and mine. With shaking hands, I logged into our joint bank account. The $80,000 we had saved for a down payment on a larger home had vanished, withdrawn that morning. On the kitchen table, I found a note written in her familiar handwriting. I need to live a real life. Do not try to find me. 7 years together reduced to 11 cold words. No explanation, no apology, not even a goodbye. I collapsed onto the kitchen floor, the dinner ingredients scattered around me. My phone buzzed with a reminder to pick up the birthday cake I had ordered. The absurdity made me laugh, then cry, then both simultaneously until my throat hurt and my eyes burned. For hours I called her cell phone repeatedly, straight to voicemail every time. I sent texts, emails, Facebook messages, nothing. It was as if Jennifer had evaporated from existence, taking our future with her. The next morning I visited Amanda, her closest friend. Amanda opened her door, face pinched with concern. David, is everything okay? You look terrible. When I explained that Jennifer had disappeared, Amanda appeared genuinely shocked. She never mentioned anything to me about leaving, she insisted. Either she was an excellent actress, or Jennifer had kept her plans secret from everyone. Monday morning I went to her workplace. The receptionist looked uncomfortable when I asked for Jennifer. She resigned 2 weeks ago, she said. Effective immediately. We thought you knew. Back home I pored over credit card statements. Found a one-way ticket to Barcelona. Purchased 3 weeks earlier. The flight had departed. The morning she disappeared. I checked our phone records, discovered international calls to a Spanish number starting 6 months earlier. I considered hiring a private investigator, researched agencies specializing in international cases. The quotes they provided were astronomical money. I no longer had, after Jennifer emptied our savings. I had to accept the impossible truth: my wife had abandoned our marriage for another man and taken everything she could carry. The weeks that followed blur together in my memory. Sleep became impossible. Food lost all taste. I dropped 15 pounds in the first month, my clothes hanging loose on my frame. At work, I made careless errors, missed deadlines, found myself staring at screens without comprehending what I was looking at. My supervisor issued a warning, then another. I barely registered his concern. Friends tried to help. They invited me to dinners, sporting events, hiking trips. I declined most offers, and when I did accept, I was poor company, distracted, and morose. Eventually, the invitations dwindled. Explaining the situation to family proved humiliating. My parents had loved Jennifer like a daughter. Telling them she had abandoned me felt like confessing a personal failure. Did something happen? My mother asked gently. Did you two fight? The implication that I must have done something to drive her away cut deeper than anything. Night after night, images tormented me. Jennifer laughing with Carlos on a Spanish beach. Jennifer spending our savings on expensive restaurants and hotels. Jennifer in his arms forgetting I existed. I started drinking to quiet these visions. One glass of whiskey became two, became half a bottle. My recycling bin, filled with empty bottles that I hid under newspapers. Ashamed of my coping mechanism. 3 months after Jennifer vanished, depression settled over me, like a heavy blanket. I requested medical leave from work, spent days unshowered in darkened rooms. Dishes piled in the sink. Mail accumulated unopened. I became a ghost in my own home. My parents flew in from Arizona, shocked by what they found. My father cleared the empty bottles while my mother stripped the bed I had not changed in weeks. They took turns trying to engage me, encourage me to see a therapist. I refused, insisted I just needed time. Then came the night that changed everything. Drunk on cheap whiskey, I scrolled through social media mindlessly. A mutual friend had been tagged in a post by someone I did not recognize. I clicked through, following a trail of connections, until suddenly there he was, Carlos. His profile public, flaunting his lifestyle. I scrolled through his recent posts until I found it. Jennifer smiling widely on a white sand beach, wearing sunglasses I had never seen, and a bikini that looked new. Carlos had his arm around her waist. The caption read, "With my American beauty, life is good." The photo had been posted just 2 days earlier. Something snapped inside me that night. Staring at that photo at Jennifer looking so carefree after destroying me, clarity suddenly cut through months of fog. "I cannot keep living like this," I said aloud to my empty living room. The next morning I showered, shaved, and called the therapist my mother had recommended. The first session was brutal, laying bare my pain and humiliation. But I kept going week after week. The therapist helped me understand that Jennifer leaving was about her character, not my worth. While rebuilding myself emotionally, I began investigating Carlos online. His social media presence portrayed wealth and success. Designer clothes, expensive restaurants, luxury vacations. He described himself as a real estate mogul developing properties along Spanish coasts. But something seemed performative about his posts, too carefully curated. More disturbing were the women. Scrolling back through his timeline, I noticed Jennifer was not the first love of his life. Before her came a blonde woman from Germany. Before that, a brunette from Canada. Each appeared in photos for a few months, then vanished from his feed without explanation. I started documenting everything I found, creating folders of screenshots, noting patterns and inconsistencies. This project gave me purpose beyond my grief. At night, instead of drinking myself numb, I researched international fraud cases involving romance scams. Returning to work, I poured myself into coding projects, rebuilding my professional reputation. My supervisor noted the improvement, assigned me to a promising new project. I started saving money again, this time in an account under only my name. 6 months after Jennifer disappeared, I booked a flight to Barcelona. My parents thought I was crazy. Friends warned me against reopening wounds. Maybe they were right, but I needed answers. Needed to see for myself what had been worth destroying our marriage for. The flight stretched endlessly, my mind churning with scenarios. What would I do if I saw them together? Confront them, break down, turn around and flee. By the time the plane touched down in Barcelona, I still had no plan beyond finding them. I checked into a budget hotel in the city center, a stark contrast to the luxury resorts dotting Carlos' social media. From my window I could see the Mediterranean glittering in the distance, beautiful and utterly indifferent to my pain. Through an expat forum, I found Miguel, a local private investigator willing to work for much less than American agencies had quoted. He spoke excellent English and understood my situation immediately. Romance scams are common here, he explained. Wealthy tourists make easy targets. We met in a small cafe away from tourist areas. Miguel, a former police officer in his 50s with kind eyes and a perpetual 5 o'clock shadow, listened intently as I explained my situation. He took notes, asked practical questions, and promised to start immediately. Barcelona mocked me with its beauty as I waited. Gothic architecture, palm-lined beaches, street musicians playing flamenco guitar. Couples walked hand in hand past sidewalk cafes. Under different circumstances, this would have been the European vacation Jennifer and I had planned together. 3 days later, Miguel texted an address in an upscale coastal suburb. We met on a hill, overlooking a white villa with a red tile roof and infinity pool. Through binoculars, I recognized Jennifer sunbathing on the terrace. My heart contracted painfully at the sight of her. She looked thinner, her hair highlighted with blonde streaks I did not recognize. I have information about this, Carlos Miguel said, passing me a file. Not good information. The documents inside revealed Carlos was not the successful businessman he claimed. His real name was Alejandro Domingo, with fraud convictions in Italy and France. He operated under various aliases, always targeting affluent foreign women. End of quote. There are at least 2 other women currently involved with him, Miguel continued. Both Americans, both wealthy. He runs the same scheme with all of them. He showed me surveillance photos of Carlos dining intimately with a red-headed woman at a restaurant, while on the same day taking a blonde woman shopping at luxury boutiques. More disturbing were the videos Miguel captured from a distance. Jennifer and Carlos arguing on the villa terrace, him gesturing angrily, her wiping tears. In another, Jennifer left the villa dressed in restaurant server attire, catching a public bus rather than the luxury cars Carlos posed beside online. She works at restaurant Mariana Miguel. Confirmed. 6 days a week lunch and dinner shifts. Not the lifestyle of someone enjoying stolen money. The picture became clearer with each piece of information. Carlos had charmed Jennifer, convinced her to leave me, and bring everything she could. Once in Spain, he had likely spent her money quickly on his lavish lifestyle, then moved on to new targets, leaving Jennifer stranded in a foreign country too ashamed to reach out for help. After a week of surveillance, I made my decision. I would confront Jennifer at her workplace, away from Carlos, somewhere public, but private enough for a conversation. Restaurant Mariana was a mid-range tourist spot near La Rambla. I sat at an outdoor table menu, shaking in my hands, watching the entrance for staff. When Jennifer emerged from inside carrying plates to a nearby table, I nearly lost my nerve. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes partially concealed by makeup. Her hair was pulled back severely, her server uniform a far cry from the designer clothes she once wore to her marketing job. When she turned and saw me, the plates nearly slipped from her hands. Color drained from her face. She set down the dishes, hastily mumbled something to the customers, and marched to my table. "What are you doing here?" She hissed, eyes darting nervously toward the restaurant entrance. "Are you stalking me?" "I told you not to find me." I maintained the calm I had practiced with my therapist for months. I needed to understand Jennifer, and I wanted to make sure you were okay. "I am fine," she snapped, but her trembling hands betrayed her. "You need to leave. Now. Your shift ends at 10, I replied. "I will wait at the cafe across the street. Please, just 10 minutes of conversation. Then I will go if you want." Her manager called from inside. Jennifer bit her lip, nodded curtly, and rushed back in. For the next 4 hours, I waited, half expecting her to slip out a back entrance. But at 10:15, she emerged, hesitated, then crossed to my table. Up close, the changes were more apparent. Stress lines around her mouth, bitten nails, a cheaply repaired seam on her purse. This was not a woman living in luxury. You have 10 minutes, she said, sitting stiffly. Carlos is not who you think I began. Her laugh held no humor. You think I do not know that now? Tears welled in her eyes. I was stupid, David. Monumentally, catastrophically stupid. The story spilled out between sips of the wine I ordered. Carlos had contacted her through a business networking site, claiming interest in her marketing expertise for his Spanish developments. Professional messages evolved into personal ones. He told her everything she wanted to hear, promised adventure and passion beyond her boring suburban American life. He knew exactly which buttons to push, she admitted. Made me feel special. Desired like I was settling for less with you. She looked down. I believed him when he said he loved me. Believed him when he said we needed my savings to secure a property that would double our money in 6 months. Within weeks of her arrival in Spain, the money vanished into investment opportunities that never materialized. The promised luxury condo became a small room in his villa, which she later learned he rented, not owned. When she questioned him, Carlos became controlling, then verbally abusive. He kept her passport monitored. Her phone isolated her from potential friends. Why not come home? I asked. Jennifer's eyes filled with shame. With what money? And face everyone. Knowing what I did, my parents, our friends. She wiped tears with a napkin. Besides, he threatened to report me for fraud if I tried to leave. Said he had documents with my signature that would implicate me in his schemes. I was scared and ashamed. I slid a folder across the table containing everything Miguel had discovered. Carlos, or Alejandro, actually has done this before, multiple times. Jennifer flipped through the pages, face crumpling as she saw photos of Carlos with other women. There were signs, she whispered. Phone calls he took in private. Weekends he disappeared. For business. I chose not to see them. He is planning another trip next week, I said. With a woman named Stephanie from Chicago. Jennifer stared at me. How do you know that? He booked flights. My investigator found the reservation. Her hands clenched into fists. She has no idea what she is walking into. You could help stop him, I suggested, before he ruins more lives. For the first time that night, determination replaced defeat in her eyes. Tell me how. The Barcelona police arrested Carlos 3 days later, as he prepared to leave for the airport with Stephanie, a divorced pharmaceutical executive from Chicago. In his luggage, they found fake business contracts, multiple passports under different names and credit cards belonging to various women. With Jennifer's testimony and evidence from Miguel, plus statements from 2 other victims, we had contacted the case against Carlos was substantial. He faced multiple fraud charges across several European countries, potentially facing years in prison. Jennifer lost everything in the process. The savings were gone, spent on Carlos' lavish lifestyle, or hidden in accounts the police could not trace. Her career lay in shambles after her abrupt departure. Her reputation among friends and family was damaged beyond easy repair. She found herself starting over from nothing, continuing to work at the restaurant, moving to a tiny apartment, shared with 2 other waitresses, learning Spanish properly, not for romance, but for survival, facing the consequences of her choices daily, in ways large and small. The hardest part, she told me during our final meeting, is knowing I did this to myself. I threw away a good marriage, hurt someone who loved me truly, all for a fantasy that lasted less than a month. I nodded, understanding both her pain and my own healing journey. After discovering Jennifer had left with Carlos, I had fallen apart completely. Drinking too much, neglecting my health, spiraling into depression that threatened my job and relationships. My recovery began with therapy forced upon me by concerned family, but eventually embraced willingly. I learned to process anger without being consumed by it, to examine the marriage honestly, recognizing both its strengths and the cracks that had formed before Carlos appeared. Rejoining a hiking club I had abandoned after the divorce introduced me to new friends who knew me only as I was, not as half of a failed marriage. Rediscovering my passion for guitar provided solace on lonely evenings. Reading books about resilience gave me frameworks for understanding my experience. My career recovered and then flourished. The focus I poured into work resulted in a promotion 6 months after returning from Spain. Colleagues commented on my improved problem-solving skills, unaware these came from putting my own life back together piece by piece. While I reconnected with old friends, I also established boundaries. Those who had whispered about my situation, or implied I must have driven Jennifer away, gradually fell from my inner circle. Those who had stood beside me without judgment remained relationships deepened by shared adversity. Dating again happened slowly, cautiously. Coffee meetings that ended with handshakes rather than kisses. Conversations where I practiced honest vulnerability without trauma dumping. Building trust in increments with others and with my own judgment. A year after the Barcelona trip, Jennifer emailed me from a small coastal town 3 hours from Barcelona. She had relocated there for a fresh start away from the memories of Carlos and her humiliation in the city. "I want to thank you for helping me escape him," she wrote. "You had every reason to leave me in the mess I created, but you showed compassion I did not deserve. The police said other victims before me never got justice because they were too ashamed to come forward. Knowing he cannot hurt anyone else is the only good thing to come from this nightmare." I replied without bitterness, wished her well in her new beginning. The anger that once consumed me had dissolved, replaced by a quiet wisdom. We would never be friends, but we need not remain enemies. The experience taught me invaluable lessons about trust. Trust should be built, gradually verified consistently, but not withheld out of fear. Jennifer's betrayal had nearly convinced me never to trust again, but that would have meant allowing her mistake to claim 2 victims instead of 1. I learned that external trappings often disguise internal emptiness. Carlos projecting wealth and success while living hollow lies. Jennifer trading substance for sparkle, only to discover the devastating cost. True value lies in authenticity, in relationships built on mutual respect rather than fantasy or convenience. Perhaps most importantly, I witnessed karma unfold naturally, without my intervention. Jennifer sought excitement and found exploitation. Carlos preyed on others until justice caught him. I lost a wife who had already left our marriage in spirit, long before she physically departed. In each case, actions created consequences more effectively than any revenge I could have orchestrated. Today, I feel grateful for lessons I never wanted, but definitely needed. My capacity for compassion expanded through suffering. My resilience strengthened through testing. My judgment sharpened through failure. I take nothing for granted. Appreciate authentic connections more deeply and recognize that happiness derives from integrity rather than intensity. I do not celebrate Jennifer's hardships. Her punishment far exceeded any justice I might have wished upon her in my darkest moments. Instead, I hope she finds peace and purpose in her new life, as I have in mine. Sometimes the most broken roads lead to the most beautiful destinations for those brave enough to keep walking. Have you ever experienced betrayal that ultimately led to growth? How did you rebuild trust after it was broken? Share your stories in the comments below. If this journey of healing and karma resonated with you, please subscribe to hear more real-life experiences. Like and share with someone who might need to know they can survive heartbreak and come out stronger. Thank you for listening to my story. And remember, sometimes losing what you thought you wanted leads to finding what you truly need.